Hi, welcome to Tech Lunch. Literally, the moment that I pressed the button to go live, my cat walked into the room, so hopefully we will not have distractions. We'll see. I might have to be doing some shooing on the side. But thank you for joining me. Today we are going to be talking about how to make your clothing last longer. And if I'm looking this way, it's because I have a few notes open so that I am not just rambling. All right, so thank you for joining me. Like I said, let's move right into it. So, the reason that you want to make your clothes last longer, obviously, is so that you have them for longer and you don't have to keep buying new clothes because all of your clothes are falling apart. It's better for your wallet and it is better for the environment. So overall, it's a win-win scenario, and all you have to do is a few things to keep your clothes looking fresh and nice so that you can enjoy them for a long time. So, tip number 1 is to follow the washing instructions. This is pretty obvious, but I think a lot of people just throw all of their clothes into one thing and wash it on whatever the setting happens to be and dry it and, hope for the best. Fingers crossed, hope for the best. The thing is that washing clothes can be really harsh on them, and it's really important to actually pay attention to the little tags that come on your clothes that tell you how to take care of them. I know that a lot of people actually cut those off. I do sometimes as well because they can be annoying or itchy. So in that case, if you're not sure how you're supposed to wash it, you can always default to hand washing. Usually you can hand wash something with a little bit of detergent just to get out, whatever the small thing is, and it's totally fine. It's pretty fast to do. If you're doing all of your clothes like that, then it might take a while. But if you just have, one item that you're just not sure how to wash, the easiest thing to do is, or the safest thing to do at least, is to wash it by hand. If you don't want to go that far, then the safest bet to put it into an actual washing machine is to wash on cold, gentle cycle, and then air dry. Just make sure that you lay it smooth and flat when it's air drying so that it doesn't get wrinkled or moldy or something. If you have clothes all bunched together, they could, and they're wet and they dry like that, they could get moldy, and that's gross, and you have to wash them again at that point. So, following the washing instructions, when in doubt, hand wash or use the gentle cycle on cold and air dry. You can also do certain things in your dryer. If you're using a dryer, if you get those big wool balls, those really help remove the moisture faster so they don't have to be in the heat quite as long. And fabric softener actually degrades the quality of your clothes, so I do not recommend using fabric softener. The way that it softens the fabric is it actually is degrading it so that it is less fibrous. So your clothes will feel soft, but that's because they're breaking down. So I do not recommend using fabric softener. Okay, the second tip is to patch, mend, and repair your clothes frequently before they get out of hand. So that means things like taking your shoes to the cobbler or fixing tiny holes before they become large holes. It's much easier to fix like a pinprick sized hole in something than it is once that thing becomes like a huge hole. And just in general, you can fix a lot more things than I think people realize. One thing is taking shoes to the cobbler. I know a lot of people don't do that. It feels old-fashioned. When your shoes give out, you just kind of discard them. But a cobbler is an amazing human, and they can do what appears to be magic on your shoes to make them look brand new again. Similarly, you can take leather things like purses and jackets sometimes to the same people, sometimes to other people, and they will refurbish those things for you and again make them look almost brand new. there are tricks to making suede look new again. Leather, to clean leather, baby oil will usually do the trick. You don't even have to take it anywhere. If you have black leather doesn't really show, but if you have something that's a lighter color and it's discolored, I know that my bag, when I wear jeans with my bag, it often will leave a little bit of that blue on there, and if you just take a rag with some baby oil on it, it comes right off. It's like magic. And if you try it with water, it just actually like pushes it farther into the fabric. So oil is what you want, something oil based. Okay, so my third tip for taking care of your clothes and making them last is to store them properly. And this means off season as well as when it's in your closet. So when you're storing your clothes for off season, if you store them somewhere in your house, it's probably not that big of a deal. You just want to make sure that you're not stuffing them into something like those things that go under the bed. If you use those, make sure that you are putting them in there nicely and folding them so that they don't get like wrinkled and like permanently wrinkled or disformed. I don't know if disformed is a word. And as I mentioned earlier, my cat just came in here and is causing havoc. Hey, stop. Sorry. So if you are storing your clothes that are off season in like the garage or somewhere outside of the house, you just want to make sure that what you're storing it in is totally sealed so that bugs and things cannot get to them. Moths and some other bugs love to eat clothing. However, they're more attracted to clothes that have oils on them. So if you have sweaters or something that you don't launder before you store, because often we won't wash sweaters after every wear because they don't get that dirty. But if you store them like that, then they will attract more of those bugs. So it might seem weird, but before you're going to store things, make sure that everything is freshly laundered to keep the bugs at bay. Now, when you're storing things in your actual closet, again, you want to make sure that things are folded so that they do not become permanently wrinkled or even just wrinkled, because it's easier to wear something that isn't wrinkled if it stays unwrinkled instead of having to iron it or steam it every time you want to wear it. The other thing is for things like sweaters. Heavy sweaters shouldn't be on hangers unless you get the sweater hangers that are bigger and thicker, because you'll get the little shoulder pop things if you use regular hangers. And my computer. Okay, back to my notes. All right, so anything else on that? Oh, you also want to fold things along the seams. So like if you're folding pants and shirts especially, you want to make sure you're folding on the seams and not in the middle, because again, you'll just create, the more times that something is folded, it gets that groove kind of built in, and you'll just have those permanent wrinkles or a permanent area where something is a little bit less strong. Okay, now tip number 4 is probably what you guessed, and it is invest in higher quality clothing. So in general, your clothing will last longer if it is higher quality. So my recommendation is to buy the highest quality that you can afford, and then of course take care of it for a long time. When you are going shopping, the way that you want to look at clothes, you want to make sure that you're looking at the seams, looking for the stitching to see if it is uniform and it looks quality, or if it looks like it was haphazardly done in a factory. And then the other thing is the fabric content of the clothes. You want to look for natural fibers. Natural fibers are going to last the longest. Anything with spandex in it has a lifespan. I know that a lot of women especially like jeans that have some spandex in it. Even I do as well. It tends to be more flattering. And you want to make sure that that spandex or lycra is kept to the minimum, because all of that, it gets stretched out and eventually it doesn't go back into place. So those are all of my tips that I had laid out. And then I had a couple of questions as well. And then I'll also scroll. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat if you're here live. But the questions that were pre-submitted, so one of them is ironing better or worse than steaming for clothes? And in general, ironing is not bad for your clothes unless they're really delicate. So things like silk, you want to steam and not iron. You don't want to expose silk to something so hot. And then the other thing is to actually take care of your iron and to follow the instructions of the iron. For example, you're supposed to be using 50% tap water, 50% distilled water, and I doubt that most people know that or do that. You also want to make sure that you're cleaning the front of the iron regularly, because as it is ironing, it is picking up tiny fibers, and those build up until it forms kind of like a gunk, and that can be bad for your clothes. So you just want to make sure that you're actually taking care of it and following the instructions. A lot of this is about following the instructions, which can be, easier said than done a lot of the time. And like I said, if it is a more delicate fabric, steaming is better. The other question that I got was, how do you make your favorite white tops last longer? And the biggest tip I have for this is, going back, why white tops specifically? Because white shows stains more than any other color, obviously, because it's the lightest. And often those are underarm stains. I think everyone has had a favorite white shirt ruined by underarm stains. And the easiest way to handle those is to avoid them in the first place. Those stains in particular are really, really difficult to remove once they have started. So just avoiding them is the best policy. Again, easier said than done. Some tips for that are, there's a product called Sweat Block that actually blocks sweat from exiting the area, and removes odor as well. And this is great because obviously you don't get the sweat, and they're perfectly safe to use. The other thing that you can do if you're not comfortable with that is there's a product called Numi, and these are undershirts that you can wear that basically soak up any sweat, and they're really lightweight, and they come in like skin color, so it looks like almost nothing is underneath, and those can block the sweat as well if you don't want to use any kind of chemical for that. And then the other thing that you can do is washing with a bleach detergent to get rid of any of those other stains. In general, the best way to deal with a stain is to do it as quickly as possible. And every single type of stain needs to be removed a different way because of the chemical makeup of it. So if you are in a situation where you've spilled something on your nice white shirt, or really any color shirt, you want to stop, look up that specific thing and how to remove that stain, because if you do something for one thing and then you do it for a different type of stain, you could end up making it much worse. So that is my top tip for avoiding those kinds of things. And if there are no other questions in the comments, that is all I've got for you today. So again, we're redoing all of that. It is follow the instructions. That's like tip number 1. Avoid harsh detergents, and if you have any doubts, use the gentle cycle, cold, or hand wash, and air dry. Keep your clothes in good condition over time. Repair them before it's too late. Just kind of keep a cycle of keeping up with your clothes. and then properly store them for the season as well as in your closet. And of course, invest in the highest quality of clothing that you can afford. And try to avoid stains whenever possible. And again, follow the instructions. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week for Tech Lunch, Wednesday at noon. All right, bye.